What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. My name is Joe Brown, and today I thought the video that I was going to be making for you guys today was going to be about the higher likelihood of a stimulus bill being passed due to what Federal Reserve Chairman Powell said to Congress today. But obviously things changed towards the end of the day when Trump came out and basically just said, the deal's off the table. We are no longer negotiating. No more stimulus is coming until after the election. Predictably, markets subsequently tanked, and so that has led us to this video where we're going to talk about what that means for the markets going forward. Let's dive in. So the day started off with talks about how Powell was basically saying we need more fiscal stimulus. And I've done a video on the difference between monetary and fiscal stimulus. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that. Now it's linked in the description. Monetary policy, monetary stimulus is anything that the Federal Reserve does. It's their money printing. And fiscal stimulus or fiscal policy is anything that the federal government does through Congress. Now they work pretty closely together. The really what the Federal Reserve does mainly is just funding everything that the federal government does, because the federal government is not bringing in anywhere near enough in taxes to pay for what they're spending, and they're not able to borrow out of the economy or from other institutions or countries anymore today compared to what they are borrowing. And so everything that they're spending, the difference between what they can borrow out of the economy and what they can pull from taxes, the difference between that revenue and what they spend just comes from the Federal Reserve through money printing. And so Powell was basically saying today that the economy needs more fiscal stimulus. It needs Congress to spend more money. And so he was adamant. He was saying this is not the time to slow down. And he even went so far as to say that there's no way we can overdo it. Even if we overspend more than what is needed, that money's not going to go to waste. And this is shocking to me because everything, just by definition, everything that the government does in terms of money spending is literally waste. When something happens in the free market, it's two individuals or a group of individuals getting together and saying, we want to exchange money for goods and services. And despite what most people think, transactions do not mean that one person profits and the other person loses. When a free transaction happens, a free market transaction happens, both parties profit. This is because of something called the law of diminishing marginal utility, which simply states that if you have one of a particular item and then you get another one of that exact same item, it means that the additional unit of the same item will have less value than the first. Let's just use money as an example. If you have $100, that first $100 that you have is going to be used to pay for your most urgent or most important needs. Now, the second $100 you get past the first $100 might be extremely useful to you, but by definition, it's not going to be as useful to you as the first $100. And that continues down the line for this third $100 and the fourth $100. Just take somebody who's living off of $1 a day in some developing country. That $1 a day is absolutely vital for them to be able to live, and they can live on it. If they get a second dollar, that's going to dramatically increase their lifestyle a lot. But you, who already has hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you get one more dollar, it's not going to increase your lifestyle as dramatically as it will for the person who only so far just has that one. So this applies to everything in life. So take two individuals who are isolated on an island. One person has a bunch of coconuts. The second person has a bunch of pineapples. Let's say they each have 10 of each. Now, person A with the coconuts goes to person B with the pineapples and says, I will trade you one coconut for one pineapple. To the person with 10 coconuts, giving up one coconut, It's nothing. It's that 10th coconut is not worth that much to him because he already has 9 coconuts. But what he's getting in exchange for is a pineapple. He has no pineapples. So the use for that pineapple is far greater to him than the use of that coconut because he already has 9 coconuts. And the exact same thing is true for the other person. They already have 10 pineapples, so getting rid of one of those pineapples to get a coconut in return, both parties are profiting. So this is all free market transactions. When free market transactions take place, they only take place because both parties believe that they will be better off by taking part in this transaction. Now, this is a free market transaction. Contrast that with a forced transaction. Anything that the government does. Let's say a city government builds a stadium, or a state government builds a highway, or a federal government sends subsidies to particular industries like farming. And the rationale behind it is, well, the free market wouldn't do this because we've left it alone to the free market, and the free market hasn't done it because it's just not profitable for people to engage in this behavior or to make this transaction happen. So what that's saying is that people left to their own choices have chosen that they don't want that thing to happen, or that it's not worth it for that thing to happen. Maybe if there were no constraints on resources, maybe people would say, yeah, it'd be great for everybody to have their own stadium to live in, if there was no constraint on resources, but there is. And so due to the law of subjective value and the law of diminishing marginal utility, people have decided that what they are currently doing is the most profitable thing for them to do. And so the government steps in and says, hey, you're not going to give the farmers as much money as we think that they need? Well, we're just going to give them some money. Now, where does the government get their money from? Number 1, they get it from taxes. Number 2, they get it from borrowing out of the economy. And number 3, they get it from money printing, which devalues all the existing dollars in circulation already. And so when a government makes a decision to intervene and to spend money somewhere, they're directing resources in a way that, by definition, the free market, individuals making their own choices, have not already chosen to do that. So by force, the government is stepping in and saying, we are going to allocate resources to an area that everybody, by their own individual choice, has said that is wasteful. That is not profitable. That will destroy my wealth rather than create new wealth for me to engage in that activity. So the government then steps in and says, fine, we'll force everybody to do it. Now that's on small scale, let alone the massive, unprecedented, enormous scale that the government has been intervening on in the past, couple of months with the recent stimulus bill. And so the fact that Powell can come out to Congress and say, even if we overspend, which any spending is already overspending, but he says even if we overspend, it won't go to waste. By definition, it is all going to waste, let alone the unintended consequences of propping up business failures and subsidizing bankruptcy, especially the moral hazard that comes along with that. There is no way that this money coming from Congress is not going to be waste. So markets were rallying on that today, and it was they were going up strong. And then out of nowhere, Trump just steps in and tweets and basically says stimulus talks are off the table. He said that he offered like 1.6 trillion or something, and the Democrats wanted like over 2 trillion, and he's saying no, we're not going to pursue stimulus any longer until after the election because our economy is strong and we don't actually need the stimulus right now, and so we'll just do it after the election. Which doesn't really make sense because if the country actually needed it, then they'd need it right now, and waiting would just make things worse. And honestly, it doesn't look... yes, the markets did start to tank as soon as that happened, but it doesn't look like the markets took it too seriously. They only dropped, they closed about 1.5% down. So it's surprising to me that Trump can still be unexpected. I mean, we've had 4 years basically of just continually being surprised by these unexpected. You think at some point people would start to expect the unexpected, but even now, when just a couple of days ago when he was in the hospital, he told the Republicans to just say, hey, he said, get it done, get the stimulus bill done, kind of like, whatever it takes, even if it's, not what we want. And then all of a sudden now it's off the table. So we'll see. Could be just a ploy. It doesn't look like the market has fully priced in, the stimulus bill being completely off the table. It looks like there would probably be a lot steeper of a drop if it was completely gone. And so we'll probably still get some sort of a stimulus bill. Ultimately, if we don't and we have a big crash, a big stock market, down, 20, 30, 40, 50%. Real estate starts crashing, evictions, all this stuff. The crash is painful. Recessions and depressions are painful. Ultimately, that is healthier for the country long term. It's political suicide, though. So if this is true and he really is saying this, think that it's probably just sealed the deal in him not winning the election. And so that's why politicians never decide to pull back on free money, because it is political suicide, and that's why they always move forward. Now, ultimately, if the stimulus bill does go through, I don't think that's any sort of a rescue. I think that's just kind of delaying the inevitable and making the ultimate crash much worse, and the economic pain far worse and longer lasting. But we'll see what happens. Any new news, I'll keep you updated. And don't ever say investing is boring, because especially in times like this, who knows what to expect on a day-to-day basis. If you want to learn how to protect your account using simple options strategies for days like this, when you just, there'll be 1.5% drops without warning, check out my options course. It's in the description below. As always, I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. Have a great day.